Hi Anti-Society, welcome back to the Antisocial Planet. Today we are checking out Stray Kids DLC. Now, my brain immediately went to video games when I saw that title, but then I looked at the lyrics and in brackets it says dance like crazy, and I'm gonna assume that that's more in line with what this is about. Just gonna go on a limb. That being said though, I'm a little bit worried going into this one because the thumbnail for the video looks a little moody, looks a little bleak, and Stray Kids can definitely make me cry. And if you're gonna put IN in the thumbnail looking like that, with a bit of a moody color grading thing going on, I just gotta start to tense up a little bit because I don't need y'all to get emotional on me because Dance Like Crazy sounds like it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be upbeat. So I don't know. I'm a little cautious going into this. It's gonna be good because it's Stray Kids, but my defenses are raised going into this. But we're gonna be checking out the lyric video first and getting to hear the song before the video comes from me, because it probably will, especially if it's gonna be bleak. You can't do that to me, okay? The pictures chosen here are not giving me this is gonna be moody, but who knows?
We're only going to dance like crazy. It's just that I like it, la la la.
Okay, Benny.
Nobody doesn't care about me. It's okay. Let's go crazy until the sunrise. 너희 때문에 빛깔에 힘줄래. 몸짓은 크게 아무도 날 말릴 수 없게. 바다 위를 날아가는 새야 나 좀 낚아채줘. 크게만 보였던 세상 작아 보이게.
Ooh, okay, so I'm very sorry, Hyunjin. I was not paying attention to what you were saying. I got distracted by what was going on in the production and a little thrown off that we got just like Tangbin, vocals, forward, minimal production stuff going on. Okay. Oh, wait. I was like, this isn't as sad as I was thinking. But then the whole, like, the world that only looked big looked small, wanting to escape, wanting to get above it, wanting to be outside of it. And even the, like, Dance Like Crazy or the la la la's, right? This kind of distraction of seeming happy and then having Lino's line of, so no one will know. It feels like we're maybe being like, hey, I'm going to have this very happy exterior, have this very fun dancing like crazy outside as this distraction from everything that's going on internally. I like the layered vocal there too. You know, without anyone knowing. Ooh, the vocal run there.
It's just that I like it, la la la. Nobody, please don't care about me. It's okay, let's go crazy until the sunrise.
Ooh, okay, what? He had the I thought before earlier on when Bangtan was singing, I'm like, it feels like he has a little bit of grit in his voice, which feels like a bit of a deviation from his normal vocals, right? He usually has a fairly like powerful, cleaner vocal, and then him having that grit added in there feels like a little bit grungier, right? Because having that little bit of grit to his voice is literally like your vocal cords like rubbing up against each other, right? It's having turbulence in the voice, right? So it has this intentional instability to the way that he's even like singing, which adds into it. But that please don't care about me, like y'all are gonna get me my feels, but like through the facade of a song that's not entirely sad, that isn't like a complete downer sonically, but it's gonna come for me, isn't it? Love that vocal run. At the end of Crazy?
Nobody, please don't care about me. It's okay, let's go crazy until the sunrise.
Yeah, like he puts the grid on like crazy and okay, which is an interesting contrast there.
Nobody, please don't care about me. It's okay, let's go crazy until the sunrise.
Ooh, yeah, it's a little bit of a bop, but also I feel like I shouldn't be bopping along. Those like intense horns too, which is very Stray Kids. Oh. y'all gonna make me sad. Again, like a bop, but what was like Hyunjin's line before this? Yeah, I wanted to forget. I wanted to erase. Ooh, blow away all the memories. Even though talking about memories coming back like before you go to sleep is like interesting, because I think there are two ways of going about that. Because I think in the one hand, you say like escaping into a dream, escaping into sleep. They're talking about running away and getting literally like putting distance between them and what they're actually like feeling internally. And dreams and sleep can be a venue for that. But I think of also a lot of the time when you start to think about things that maybe you don't want to be thinking about, or you are more aware of what you're feeling. I think a lot of us experience that when we're like about to go to sleep, right? Because you're starting to let go of all of the distractions, and all you really have is like your mind and this like dark room that you're in. And in that moment, you start to go through all the things that you're feeling and all the things that you're actually thinking about. And you don't have the same distractions to get in the way of that, which means that you have to just sit with yourself. And I think that a lot of us struggle with that. I say that I raise my hand to be like, definitely. I'm one of those people where do I have to put something on, like an audio of some kind, so that I can fall asleep, because my brain will go into chaos mode if I don't distract it a little bit? Yes. Okay. I have a therapist for that. I get being a little bit scared of your brain and the things going on in it and wanting to escape from it. And I think that a lot of us have gone through that. I mean, especially with everything that has happened in the last 5 years. I think that everyone in the world has a little bit of that, wanting to escape from what's going on and not wanting to be trapped in your own head. And Stray Kids is definitely not one to shy away from talking about those topics of what it is like to have a battle going on internally. And I think that it's interesting for them to have this song that is, again, you get into the chorus and it is more of this like upbeat dance beat to it, but with these like really intense horns, which is something that is throughout Stray Kids music, but it feels more like booming and it has like a much darker tone here. It feels less like victorious, right? I feel like a lot of the time when they have those kind of loud, very bassy horns in their music, it usually has this feeling of like victory, almost like military-esque. It's like a call forward of them about to march in, right? Usually that's the vibe that we get. But in here, it's almost this, I don't know, like a pressing, like loud, chaotic sound that is there to almost be jarring or to grab attention again as this like distraction from what's actually going on. And I think that it's interesting to have all these kind of musical elements that are contrasting with the lyrics, because it is meant to distract you, right? You're meant to be focusing on the other things, even like the beautiful like vocal melodies that are happening. There's all of these kind of distractions to what they're actually talking about, and I find that fascinating given the subject matter of it. I love the way that Hyunjin picked out certain sounds in that too. Even that like that one like synth they have that almost sounds like a ticking sound. I find it interesting to have Han there, where again, when Bangtan was singing it, he had this emphasis on crazy okay, right? The contrast between those two and having a little bit more grit on it. It's almost like there's this more emotion coming through with it. And again, the contrast between those two words, they both have a bit of a slanting rhyme to them, but also crazy and okay are usually associated with opposite spectrums when we're talking about like how someone is doing internally or mentally. And then having Han come in, he's emphasizing different words. Like he's like care, right? Like he's shifting where he's adding that like emotion or putting it a little bit more of that almost like aggression into the voice of wanting to be like, I don't want to process this, right? This whole song isn't about, hey, I'm going through something and I really want to sit with it and figure it out and I'm being very introspective. This is like, hey, I don't want to think about it. I don't want to deal with it. I want to get as far away from what I am feeling and what I am thinking is possible. And I'm not here to have a heart to heart. I don't want someone to come up to me and ask me how I am because I don't want to think about it. I think, again, as somebody who has gone through things and has struggled with things, and I've been at a point in my life in recent last few years where if you had asked me if I was okay, I would have immediately broken down. I would have been like, in that moment, I would have registered what I was feeling and I was not okay. So I feel like that is part of this too, of being like, hey, if you ask me how I am, I'm gonna figure out how I am and I'm going to fall apart. So I need you to not do that right now. I need to just be allowed to have fun and forget about it and not think about it at all. So I think that it's interesting to have, again, like the two different members singing the same lines, but emphasizing different parts of it and like shifting the meaning by doing that.
We're only going to dance like crazy.
And the like, he emphasizes that part too.
Please don't care about me, it's okay. Let's go crazy until the sunrise. Sunrise.
Ooh, good vocal, like shout vocal there.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Nobody, please don't care about me, it's okay. Let's go crazy until the sunrise. 좁혀놨던 이상 속 그 안이 깊이 갇혀. Oh, I better run, better run.
Interesting with the synth playing. Ooh, Summon, I was just gonna say that your voice, your tone there sounded beautiful. You're like pulling up your chest voice? Dang, boy. But also lyrics. Yeah, I'm worried about this video. It's one thing to be hearing them talking about these topics, another thing to see them in their acting mode. And I'm like, I need y'all to not come at me, okay? Because I know what you can be like in videos like this, but trapped inside and then the worries swallow me. I might need to go for a walk after I watch this video because I'm gonna be like in my feelings a little bit. But the Sungmin vocal right there, he sounds great. He's like pulling up his chest voice just a little bit to get a little more of a power behind the lines, which I think is really cool because given the lyrics that he's talking about, I think if you had something like a ballad, you would soften the voice for those, right? You would want to sound a little more vulnerable, so you'd thin out the voice. Maybe we'd get something into a falsetto, but it would definitely have a bit of a breathier delivery. And the fact that he's pulling up his chest voice means that he's keeping that firm connection in his vocal cords. He's keeping a very clear forward sound. There's a certain strength to it that he's just almost like drowning it out in a way, or again, like forward. It feels like it has this pushing forward feeling of it, even like having that higher note of him just being like, I'm just gonna keep going, even though my worries are swallowing me, even though everything is trying to pull me down, even though there's more and more piling on. I'm just gonna keep going forward because I cannot deal with it right now.
그 안이 깊이 갇혀. Oh, I better run, better run.
Interesting, like the synths they're choosing. Gorgeous. Interesting, like vocal, like distorted vocal sample there. Is that an electric guitar coming through? Ooh. Interesting choice of the production. Ooh, vocal. Sorry, I was focused on the production, then I was focusing on the vocals because they're like distorted in an interesting way. There's almost like multiple layer tracks in it, but they're buried in the production and they have this distortion on them, which also feels like there's this noise or extra kind of internal voices, and then you being like la la la, like singing over top of it and trying to drown it out as opposed to actually listening to it, which is fascinating. It's really interesting, like production choice. Ooh. And then ending off with a softer vocal of being so no one's gonna find out about what's going on. Interesting choices. Again, gonna come for me a little bit in this music video. I know, because it's gonna get me in my feelings. Because some of those lyrics, I'm like, oof. And again, intentional though, right? Because the whole point of the song, I feel like, is running away from it. It's not trying to unpack the feeling or the thoughts or what you're going through. It's being like, hey, I need to not deal with this right now, so let me do this instead. And having interesting kind of like dance beats in the production, but there's always this kind of, it doesn't quite take off, right? It doesn't have that full forward momentum that their songs can have, right? Like, Stray Kids has some incredible songs when it comes to dance beats or even just fun uplifting beats, right? And they never quite get there, right? Which I think is so interesting. It's almost like there's a cap on what's happening, that even though it does have a faster tempo, it does have some of those dance elements in the production, it never quite gets fully there, right? That I find is very reminiscent of what's going on in the lyrical content of being like, hey, I want to forget that there's stuff going on. I want to dance like crazy so I don't have to think about what I'm feeling and what I'm going through. But that doesn't mean that you're not actually having a moment of happiness, right? You're just like running away from it. You're not actually in a happy moment. So there's always going to be a cap on how carefree you can be in that moment, right? It's going to be tarnished by whatever's going on internally, even no matter how much you ignore it. So I find that so interesting, just the sonic storytelling to go with it. I'm not ready for this video. I'm worried that they're going to get me. If someone cries, I'm gonna crumble. That should be fun. Oh God, we're starting with Ian. That just makes me even more worried. I swear, if someone hurts Ian, I consider that a declaration of war. Just putting that out.
We're only going to dance like crazy.
You've baked in lyrics? Some of them, anyway. Are we frozen? Interesting to have almost this. Well, I got a little distracted by Lino, I'm not gonna lie. Okay, I know that we're supposed to be in our feelings, but Lino looks good in the whole boxing. He can't be like that, okay? I can't have Venom flashbacks. But almost having Tangbin here frozen and then needing almost, I don't know, that bring you back to the moment is of someone physically interacting with him is interesting. And like even just like fighting something that's not there. Someone looks really good too. Interesting. I feel like we shouldn't just be sat on a rooftop. Oh, was it like a friend showing up? That's so cute. Okay, what? I'm like, is it like a friend showing up and bringing you back to the moment? Or is it like pretending because you're around someone? Because that colors it differently for me. Because I feel like any of us who have struggled with any kind of mental health things or have even just been going through a difficult time and you need that escape, you need to take a step away from it, that you've been like, I'm just gonna smile and get through this interaction, right? You want to be around friends and people that you care about and people who care about you. And even if you're like, I don't necessarily want to talk about this and unpack it, I still want to be with this person and try to have a good time, but it's always like looming there, right? There's always, again, this thing that is going to cap off how engaged or how much joy you can find in something. And I think that is, I don't know, like maybe that's part of the interaction there, but also like it's good to have friends and to be with people. Look, I'm not a mental health professional. That's why I've hired a mental health professional to help me with my brain. But like, did they film the whole thing in Paris? Or at least the outside parts of it? Interesting to have all the like street dancers. And Dance Racha. Interesting, the tracking camera too. Ooh. It's really interesting too to have almost this lyrical dancing, but because the camera is focusing on like a specific body part, that the movements are really chaotic, right? All of the kind of grace that comes with more lyrical dance that would fit something more like a ballad or something that is more emotionally driven. All of that is, you know, pulled back a lot because you have this kind of jarring movement that adds a lot of like kinetic feeling to the dancing. But again, it's also chaotic. Even like the quick shifts between the dancers is also chaotic. So it again takes away some of that emotive storytelling in this, because again, that's what we're running away from. We're trying to not think about what we're feeling. Even like not having like a straight camera, like it tilts a lot too. Oh, sweeties. That was a terrible job putting those headphones on. You don't have to look like that, Felix. Ooh, the tilting camera though, right there. So no one knows, and then the camera tilts, right? Like it's like following him steady, and then we have this tilting down, and then it corrects itself as we go in. That's interesting camera work. Ooh, sir. They were like all of the kicks in this comeback. In the jeans, too. I like them all coming together, though. I like that it isn't completely sad. Even though I get the point as to them not fully being happy, right? Ooh, like even that transition of them like having the camera like upside down. But it is almost like taking joy in the things that you can, right? Then Tim, why didn't you just walk around it like a normal person? Like, why were we putting in so much for that? Why are you looking at the camera like that? I was like, wow, look at the beautiful silhouettes that we got from the dancers. And then it was like, and here's Hyunjin. Look, again, I know that we're focusing on deeper topics here and what's going on. They all look great. They all look very good in this, which makes me like more upset because I'm like, y'all are trying to talk about going through some stuff. Again, taking joy in what you can. I feel like I maybe didn't touch as much on that of listening through the song, but I think that it is also important to be like, yes, it's sometimes like escaping from something that you're feeling or that you are going through isn't the solution to that issue. But if it gets you through the next moment, that there's nothing wrong with that, right? Like I think that we've all had moments where like, especially with music, I feel like so many of us have gotten into different kinds of music, whether or not that's K-pop or other things. Even having like Ian having the headphones on of being like, hey, music is our way of just having a few moments of let me just listen to my favorite songs. Let me just listen and dance and have a moment of not needing to feel the things that I'm feeling or think the things that I'm feeling. Let me get lost in it for a little bit. And I think that so many of us have found that, whether that is Stray Kids or other parts of K-pop or whatever, that we go to this as a comfort of let me laugh with them, let me sing along with them, let me dance along with them, let me have the chaotic high energy of the lead singles that we get from Stray Kids as a way of getting out of my head, getting out of my feelings, and giving me a break, right? Because when you're fighting with your own mind, it can be exhausting. And having that escape is fine. Again, not the solution, but sometimes you need a break. And again, if it gets you through the next moments, if it helps you take a breather so that you can keep going, then do it, right? And I think that is what a lot of these kind of interactions of them coming together is like having friends, one, having that connection, but also like it's okay to just like dance for a bit and turn off what you're feeling and what you're going through and let yourself just have a little bit of a break. You don't always have to figure out the solution right then and there. I don't know, it's nice to see little moments of them just being like dorks. Lovingly, with all of the love and affection in my heart. Dorks. And that's what I love about them. With the like lampposts. Beautiful shot. And then Sir. I want to know, did they choreograph these little dance interludes or are they like improving them? Sir. I'm gonna need Lino to like that little body roll with the cheeky smile. And that, I need you to not be like that. Thank you. Look at their cute smiles. Almost got me there at the end. I need Ian to not look at me like that. Singing like that. But I think also having that close up at the end, I was even thinking with some of the dancing, like I was saying, we had this chaotic camera movement earlier on, and then later we had more of a steady cam and you were able to see it, right? You were able to see some of the kind of motive parts of it, and then them having their own little dance moments. Again, I want to know if with Dance Racha had choreographed that themselves or they just freestyled it on the day and then they chose what they were going to put in it. I think there's behind the scenes maybe for this video, so I may have to investigate that further. But getting to see some of the dancing more with that pulled out camera and steady camera and not having that kind of tracking with it allowed a little bit more stability, right? And I think that's really interesting to have that as we progress through the video, from having this very chaotic, unstable camera work into something that feels more stabilized. And then I also like having this really pushed in close up with Ian when he's saying, no one will, I keep getting the line wrong and I apologize if I can find it now. Without anyone knowing, and having this pushed in for it. Again, got me a little bit, because if anyone hurts him, again, I will consider that a declaration of war. I will fight you. But also it's a quieter vocal, right? He has a softer tone to his voice. It is bringing you in. And I feel like it's so interesting to have this song very much pulling out, even getting to Sungmin's part where it has this kind of crescendo of, again, pushing forward and having a bunch of energy behind it and all of the production coming in. And then ending up the song as this kind of very quiet, more vulnerable, more intimate sound to the way that the vocals are delivered. And then having this close up of him being like that connection of, hey, yes, it's okay to escape a little bit and have a moment of reprieve from fighting with yourself and whatever is going on with you. But that doesn't mean it goes away. That doesn't mean that it's not there. It's just something that you've left for a little bit and it's going to be there for you to pick up again when you come back to it. Got me a little bit. I didn't cry, but I feel a little bit of heaviness in my chest at the end of that. All right. Thank you to the stay who wrote the comment underneath that video that just said, Ian has been mopping since Maniac. It shows how determined he is with his job, because I needed that. I needed a good laugh after going through that, because I'm like, no, he was also mopping in Maniac, wasn't he? And the boys came in and messed up his vibe. But I think that song was really interesting. I love the storytelling that they had with the production and the way that they were choosing to go with the lyrics. I think that it has a really interesting sound. There were lots of points where I thought I knew the direction that we were going with the production or the energy of the song, and they pivoted, which I think is really cool, because it does have this kind of tap down of dampering of emotions, right? It isn't supposed to like fully open up, right? It's supposed to have this kind of feeling of clamping something down. And I think that's why I really like those kind of loud bassy horns that are in this, because it has that feeling of pressing down on everything that's going down, because you're literally trying to contain what's going on inside of you and have this kind of external show of joy or escapism without anyone figuring out what's being pushed way down inside of you. And then this whole video just having like a really low saturation. I think it was all in Paris, so that's interesting too, of the choice of locale, because it's supposed to be a tourist place or a vacation or something outside of your normal routine. It's supposed to be something a little bit more exciting and adventurous, and the reason that you're even there is because you're like going on adventure, unless of course you live in Paris. But for anyone who is from South Korea or from the West like I am, that's what Paris is, right? It's like this romanticized getaway place that you go on vacation, you go to celebrate something, you go to, for a lot of K-pop people, it's because of accomplishments that you end up being able to go to Paris for different schedules or whatever. There's a certain amount of success and accomplishment with that. So it's supposed to have this kind of bright, almost magical, romanticized feeling to it. And then having this very like low saturation and not in the most touristy places. We had some of the street dancers, but it was always this them looking out into it, right? I think it was interesting is that we always had Stray Kids looking out at these places and not being in them, being part of them, and they were off doing other things more like isolated and off the beaten path. So I think a really fascinating choice. I don't know if that was like intentional or it was just scheduling that they were like, oh, I guess we'll film it here because we're here. I don't know the whole story of why they decided to film it, but I think that is interesting, right? It should be this celebratory thing, or it should at least be this kind of adventurous thing. And it's almost like none of them could enjoy it fully until they came together, and it was them enjoying each other's company more than enjoying the experience they were in. I think that anyone who's struggled with mental health or going through a particularly difficult time can relate to that, of you wanting to be engaged with where you're at or what you're doing or what you're accomplishing, wanting to be part of that. But all of the saturation is turned down. Everything is through this fog. There's always this barrier between you and the thing that you want to be with. Like all of them kind of looking through these windows outside, I think is really interesting. Like having that separation, even though you can see it, there's always this barrier between you and the thing that you want to be engaging with. So I think that there's some really interesting things visually in this, a fairly like simplistic music video for it, which again, it's not one of their main music videos, so I would expect that, but effective in the way that they decided to go about it. So I'm gonna investigate some more. I don't know if there is a behind the scenes. I don't know if they've gone further into talking about this specifically, but I would be interested to see the logistics of why this was filmed the way that it was and where it was. But I hope you enjoyed listening to that along with me. You can click this place to go to my previous reactions, or you can subscribe to me next time I post a Stray Kids reaction. I will see you in the next video. Bye.